I'm here with Jamie in East Palestine. Jamie has been organizing quite a bit here with local residents. We ran into her actually this morning at the assistance center. She talked to every single person in line, I'm pretty sure, and is helping to kind of collect resident stories, and even yourself are obviously directly impacted this. We're at your home here in East Palestine that Norfolk Southern deemed too unsafe to go home to, basically, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, they were coming out to do air testing on all the houses, and because of our close proximity to the creek, I think it's about 7 steps from there to the front door. I asked about soil and water sampling. They were not providing that, so I had the railroad come down. He agreed we had a concern. He sent in a toxicologist, and when he left, the railroad offered to buy us out and relocate us.
And when they made that offer, I guess, I mean, were they trying to get you to sign away anything too, or was this just like are you planning on taking that deal, or what? I guess, where does that all stand right now?
Well, he called and he basically said, what would be your relocation expenses? And I said, I don't know right now. It's still, I'm in the middle of the emotion. I said, I'd have to sit down and thoroughly think about it. So he said, well, get back to us with a number. He also called again on Sunday and asked not to be recorded. I got him the first time. And he said, what's your number? And I said, I still haven't had time. I've been organizing. But then I sat down last night and I started thinking about it. And I'm like, well, I'd have to replace all the baby's toys in the yard and this and that. And then I started thinking, what about my sentimental stuff? My dad passed away like a year and 3 months ago. What about the only things that I have left of him? The stuff smells.
Yeah, hard to replace your whole life. I mean, how long have you lived in East Palestine in total?
I grew up right down in Rogers my whole entire life. Yep. Or East Palestine. I have family from the Rogers and from East Palestine, but we're all affected. Right. This stuff didn't stop. That 1 mile radius is where the shrapnel could have blown. It's not where the pollution stopped.
Right. Yeah, the pollution clearly is going much, much further than this. I mean, we're talking to people 10, 15 miles away who are having health effects. Obviously, these creeks and everything, this runs right from the railroad tracks, basically, and they continue for quite a ways, and this isn't the only one from what I understand, too. All right, so we're right in East Palestine. We're here with Jamie. Someone just sent us a video after throwing a rock in this. This is right behind the Dollar General in town. Yes. We'll take a look and see what happens, I guess. Yeah. Stuff way under here. Some bubbles popping up. There's even a couple small ones out there too. But the water's safe.
And see these tunnels here?
Yeah.
These go underneath these buildings here in town.
Yep.
These were not evacuated.
These weren't evacuated.
No, once the opposite side of the street was.
This is all still popping up too. I don't know how well this is showing on camera, but you can, there's still stuff popping up here and now going downstream. And downstream of here, there are some kind of like pumps set up where they're aerating the water. But it's about to start raining and water is already kind of spilling over the little mini dam that they've made downstream, sorry. It's like a sweet smell in the air with all of this happening right here. I can't really just compare it to something, but it's a mix of this like sweet smell and then also a bunch of like diesel engines, because there's a million pumps and stuff being run right now, but the sweet smell is weird. I have not smelt anything like it before. Unfortunately, I've been hearing from a lot of residents and including members of your family that aren't doing so well. I guess, can you talk about some of the health impacts and how it's been affecting you all?
Yeah, my mom was one that, at first she didn't evacuate. She has that old mentality of, I'm going to go at home if I'm going to go. She did leave when they did the controlled burn, and since she's been back, she's been sick. She's very lethargic. When I talk to her on the phone, her cough, I keep urging her to go to the hospital, and she's like, well, they're saying that there's no testing for it. When I urge her to get out, I have 5 foster kids. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? There are so many people that are trapped in their homes because they have mortgages. They can't afford just to pick up and relocate, and to replace everything. You know, if someone told you right now, you know, we're just putting you in a blank house with nothing, how many people could afford to get all new clothes, furnish that house,
Right.
and everything? They couldn't.
Right. Let alone, like, you know, for a lot of people, like, they have a job. What if they have a job here?
Right.
Now they don't have a job if they move somewhere else. Or maybe, I mean, we talked to people in line today who they had to miss a week of work. And those are big expenses. And for a lot of people here and elsewhere, missing a week of work means, shit, am I going to be able to pay rent at the end of the month?
Exactly.
Or, like, you know, what am I going to have to cut out so that I can actually, you know, pay my bills and whatnot, which is obviously terrible. Now, you've also been doing a lot of organizing with River Valley Organizing, correct? And do you want to just talk a little bit about the kind of story banking that you all are doing? Yeah.
So I went to River Valley because I couldn't trust the tests that were provided by the railroad. So when I got involved in it, one of the things that we're trying to do right now is build a story bank. We want to hear every single person's story that was affected. I don't care if you're 20 miles away. If you have concerns and you're having stress, then you were affected by it. We want to be able to go to some of these politicians and say, look, we have 5,000 stories of people that have been affected by this train derailment. We need help, and we need help now. Lawsuits are one thing, but we need out of here today. They're poisoning an entire community. We didn't start out sick and we're getting better. People started out thinking, I don't see anything different, everything's fine, and now people are getting sick and they're getting sicker. We need help, and we need it now.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the folks too, we've had a lot of conversations about some of this so far, and some of the folks you've referred us to, I mean, some of the stories are absolutely heartbreaking. Like, we were just talking with Candace earlier, and like, she was tearing up, and I was like, hearing some of these things is just, it's unconscionable that here we are, this whole town is essentially dealing with this, and seemingly all of the help that should be showing up is kind of just showing up now. I mean, like, FEMA and the federal government are like, just now, it's been weeks just starting to show up. And up until this point, the only help that is being provided is by the multi-billion-dollar railroad that caused the whole mess in the first place. And why would you trust the testing?
Right.
Why would you trust anything they're doing? They're making the process to get money difficult. Like, I mean, it's got to be incredibly frustrating to have to be relying on the people who caused the problem to, quote unquote, fix your problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's beyond frustrating. You know, like you said, I'm going to come in and test your house and tell you it's safe, but if it's not safe, I have a huge financial loss. You know, and again, that's why I impressed. I didn't trust it. What I trusted was coming back to my house for the first time and smelling the creek as I was pulling in the driveway, looking in the creek. Before they said it was toxic, I said, they're lying. I don't trust them because I trust my nose, my eyes, and my own experience.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, clearly we're still kind of having the same smell. We obviously were threw a couple bricks into the river just upstream from here, and you can see all of the chemicals kind of coming up. You can still smell the weird sweet chemical smell. And I mean, you can literally see some of the kind of where they're aerating the water right from the house here. And I mean, you're not the only house right here either. I mean, there's several on kind of both sides of the river here.
The gentleman that lives in this upstairs apartment is still living in the house.
Still living in the house.
Yeah, he's still elderly gentleman. Yeah, he's still living up there. And like you said, if they were wrong about my house being safe, how many of these other houses that you see right along this creek do you think they're wrong about? If it's even just one and a child dies, you know, what are we going to do then? Is that what it's going to have to come to, people dying before we finally get help?
And has this, like, did Norfolk Southern come and tell this gentleman that the house was toxic as well, or is he just finding out from you and other people?
He just found out from us. My fiance finally, because we thought he left. We didn't know. We're still staying in West Virginia. And when we found out that he was still in the house, I was shocked. So my fiance reached out to him today, and he said nobody had told him.
So he's just, living right along the area here. Again, even the railroad saying that the house is toxic, right? If they're saying it's toxic and they've been lying about all sorts of other stuff, I mean, terrible. I guess if there's anything else that you want folks from outside of the area to know that's being skipped over, that's not being talked about, feel free to share.
I mean, there's so many different issues. Every person you talk to has a different issue, from, neighboring schools having tournaments in high school athletics forfeited because kids are afraid to come here. Our kids are afraid to go to school. Most of the kids in East Palestine walk to school. They walk through this air to school, to a school. They don't even know if it's clean, and parents don't have answers. We have people that were forced to go back into jobs that work in town that, their jobs never cleaned before they brought them back. People with mortgages that can't leave, people with no social security card and can't get reimbursed. Like, every single person in this town has a unique story.